But you wrote in your article, and this is one of the best quotes I think I've seen, in the ultimate touch of black humour, one of the reasons given for flagging a post for censorship was misrepresenting a George Orwell quote. Now, Rebecca, what version of reality are we living in, and where is our public broadcaster calling this sort of stuff out?
Well, it's very disappointing. I mean, as I noted, and as far as I'm aware, at the time that I wrote the article, and I don't know if they've sort of caught up on it belatedly, but there was nothing on the national broadcaster about this whole episode. And it was covered in The Guardian, but the journalist in The Guardian said that she didn't seem to see, from the way she wrote her article, any sort of a problem, and accused Senator Antic and Senator Malcolm Roberts, who were protesting about this, of crying censorship, like as if it wasn't actual censorship. They were just crying about something, you know, that, and there wasn't actually anything wrong. And indeed, that point of view was expressed by the Minister for Emergency Services, Murray Watt, who's also said he's very comfortable with this sort of digital censorship. So we have moved into a world where the left well, actually, no, I have to correct myself, because there was a coalition government, and apart from dissenting members of that government, like Senator Antic, for example, or I know others, then they were perfectly happy and still seem to be. There is no outcry in Australia, and that is what is so deeply disturbing. People seem to have lost any understanding of the importance of debate and in the importance of the right to be wrong. You know, that the only way you can find things out is by being able to argue them. Sometimes once you're exposed to the arguments of other people, you actually think, gosh, they've got a good point. I think I'll change my point of view on that. But if there is no debate, you cannot learn. So, I mean, the harm done by censorship is far greater, in my opinion, than any harms that they pretend or imagine that they are protecting us from.
Well, here's the kicker, Rebecca. In order to enforce censorship, you first have to have an approved source of truth. During COVID, the World Health Organization managed to invest the world's governments and Silicon Valley with a truth by decree system where COVID science was absolute, until it was updated, of course, and then it became a new type of absolute. How powerful is the WHO, and what should Australia do about its influence over our speech?
Well, I think this is, you know, the answer, I guess, is that the WHO, the WHO, is far more powerful when it comes to our speech than it ought to be. And but the real problem is, I mean, at the end of the day, UN organisations, whether they are peacekeepers, whether they are, you know, climate alarmists, whether they're at the WHO, they cannot enforce these things. It's the power of the idea, and then the fact that our government, who are elected by us, who are accountable to us, who then implement those things. So, I mean, I think the power of the, you know, I think what the WHO's policies are terrible in this respect. And look, if you look right through what the WHO does, there are still areas of the WHO that are actually doing things that could look like the sort of things they maybe did 30 years ago, and which I think are valuable. But their priority these days is about, it seems to me that it's about all sorts of strange things like censoring people. And when you look at it, what's really happened is that the WHO has been captured in the first instance by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, obviously, you know, founded by Bill Gates in particular. And Bill Gates is a big investor in big pharmaceutical companies, and had a big investment in Pfizer, made a tidy profit, and so on. So you can see, unfortunately, a very unhealthy example of regulatory capture, and we are suffering for that.